The purpose of creation needs to be known, and the purpose of our creation is ibadat. It's worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In ibadat, in the Holy Quran, in a lot of verses mentions this. That is the purpose why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. That is the purpose why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down the prophets. In one of the verses, it says, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا. Wherein we sent in every nation, فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ, in every ummah, a Rasul was sent. With what message? أَنِ اعْبُدُ اللَّهِ, worship Allah. This was the message. Men needed reminders. The worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is already ingrained in our fitrah. It's already part of our nature. That is why you see that when the prophets were sent to different nations, those nations were, it was not the case that they were not worshipping anyone. They were already worshipping. But they weren't worshipping the one and only God that they should be worshipping. They were either worshipping sun, stars, moons, trees, animals, whatever. But they were already worshipping. This shows that worshipping is part of our nature. But the prophets were sent to tell them and to guide them whom to worship. They had identified a wrong God for themselves.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
So they were worshipping, but they were not fulfilling the purpose of the creation.
Subhanallah.
Because the purpose of creation is not just worshipping, but worshipping the one and only God. That is why ma'rifat becomes the prerequisite, the muqaddimah of ibadat. That is why Imam Hussaini says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create His servants except for the reason that they should worship Him. That they should have His ma'rifah. And then He says when they will have His ma'rifah, they will begin to worship Him. So ma'rifah becomes the purpose or the prerequisite of ibadat. But if we do not know the purpose of creation behind this universe, behind ourselves, then we will begin to object to each and everything that we see. You will object each and everything. And those who are at top level in different companies, they know that when the employees come and object to certain decisions that are being taken. Why is that? Because they don't know what goals and objectives the senior management has in store. What is it that they are planning? For example, if a child walks in this room hoping to play soccer, and then when he moves in this room, comes in this room, he's going to look at these chairs and the speaker and then this member is going to object. What kind of arrangement is this? Why? Why is he objecting? Because he does not know the intended purpose behind this arrangement. Only when that becomes clear, only then he will be able to appreciate why this has been arranged in this manner. In one of the traditions, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam explains to one of his companions, he says that the reason why people object to the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why people think that this dunya is not created perfectly, is because they do not know the purpose behind the creation. They are looking for happiness in this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create this world like that. It was revealed to Hazrat Musa alayhi salam that people are looking for absolute happiness in this world. I have put absolute happiness in the hereafter. People are looking in this world, they will never find it. He says, I have put ilm and knowledge in hunger. People are finding it on a full stomach. They will never find it. I have put the istajabat of dua, the fulfillment of their prayers, in rizq halal. People are finding it in loud screams and loud du'as. The more I shout in dua, the more easily, the quickly my dua will get accepted? No.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah.
Allah says, my istajabat of your du'as is in rizq halal. If you want your du'as to be accepted, consume rizq halal. That is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this world. So if you do not know the purpose behind the creation and why this world was created the way it is, you will always object to different things. Now we know, you must have heard doctors, some of the doctors, they object to the creation of the eye. They say the design of the eyeball is not perfect. It is perfect. It is the fact that they do not know the purpose behind the different things that they can't explain right now.
Subhanallah.
So because they don't know the purpose, you object. So that is why ma'rifah is important. Once you have the proper ma'rifah, only then you can appreciate the design of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because there is harmony between the design, the creation. Let me put it this way, there is absolute harmony between the book of creation and the book of legislation.
Subhanallah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has two books. One is the book of creation, and that is this dunya, this universe that you see around yourself. The design of the earth, the solar system, the Milky Way, the universe. This is the book of creation. It is an act of God. So this is the book of creation. And then there is the word of God, which is the book of legislation, which is the do's and do nots, which deals with your actions. There is perfect harmony. Now what is it that a scientist is trying to do? A scientist is trying to explore the rules of the book of creation.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah.
That is his job, that is his task. And a faqih in the house, his task is to discover the laws of legislation.
Subhanallah.
So even if a scientist engages in this universe, with that in mind, that he's trying to discover the laws of creation, the laws with which Allah designed this universe, it is going to be an act of worship. It's going to be an act of worship. Because both are dealing with the book of Allah. One is the book of creation and one is the book of legislation. And there is absolute harmony between the two. This universe has been designed with that goal and purpose. What is the goal? Ibadat. When Hazrat Adam alayhi salam was created, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed to him his entire progeny. All the children of Adam till the day of judgment were shown to him. And when he looked at them, they were shown to him like stars. They were shining like stars. Some were shining brightly, some were dim in their light, some were tall, some were short, some were healthy, some were sick. So when he looked at this diversity in his offsprings, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if he could ask a question. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted him. So he asked this question. He said, I am seeing my offspring and I see that there are differences among them. Some are tall, some are short, some are white, some are black, some are healthy, some are poor, some are rich. So if they were all alike, they wouldn't have argued with themselves. They wouldn't have fought with each other. They wouldn't have been jealous of each other.
Subhanallah.
If they were all alike, have you ever been jealous because your brother has two eyes? Your next door neighbor has two eyes? No. But you might be jealous because he has a bigger car or a bigger house. Right? So jealousy, what is jealousy? Jealousy, how do you define jealousy? Jealousy is the desire that you have within yourself that a blessing that someone else has be taken away from him. That is what jealousy is. That a brother or someone else, your next door neighbor, has a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you do not have. So you wish and pray and hope that that blessing is taken away from him. This is called jealousy. Which can be a sin if you act on that. And then against it is another feeling, is another desire that, oh Allah, this brother, this next door neighbor has this blessing, please bless me with a similar blessing. This is not jealousy. This is wishing for something that others have for your own self. So this is not jealousy. So Hazrat Adam alayhi salam asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this question, that if everybody was alike, if everybody, just like everybody has the same 2 eyes, 2 hands, 2 ears, everybody uses this air, so nobody is jealous of that. If everybody was the same height, same weight, same size, same color, then they would not be jealous of each other. I'm bringing this example to show that the design, that the book of creation is set up to fulfill that purpose of creation. So once the purpose of creation is set, then all the actions of the wise God will be in accordance to that. That purpose is ibadat. So the design of this dunya is such that it takes you towards that purpose. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded, He said, there is divine wisdom behind my action. I created these in such a way, because when the wealthy will look at the poor, he will know, he will realize that this wealth that this brother has, this next door neighbor has, it is not intrinsic to him, it is given to him by someone. And just as it has been given to him, it can be taken away from him. And then he will then turn his hands in praise and say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just as you have blessed him with this ni'mat, with this blessing, bless me with this ni'mat as well. When the sick will look at the healthy, he will realize that I can too become healthy. He will pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asking for health. Those who are healthy will pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please do not take this blessing away from me. And as a result, each and every one on the face of earth will raise his hands in prayers and call me out.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah.
Muhammad wale baat Muhammad salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So that is the purpose of diversity that you see around. The diversity you see in this dunya is to remind us of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His greatness, His wisdom, and to turn us towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are a lot of deficiencies within us. These are a constant reminder that these deficiencies can be fulfilled by someone who has given or who has fulfilled these for others. And when you are walking out in the malls and in the roads, in the streets with your children, this is a very important point, or reminder or a helper in the tarbiyat of our children. When the children look at the diversity around, obviously they will see people who are handicapped. They'll see people in wheelchairs, there are people who are sick, you visit the hospital, there's so many people on the bed. This is an opportunity to remind them of the purpose of creation. Explain to them the purpose behind the diversity of creation. And it has been mentioned in this tradition what it was the purpose behind the diversity. So just as there is the book of creation has been created in line, in sync with the purpose of creation. Similarly, the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the laws of Islam have also been created or legislated keeping that purpose in mind.
MashaAllah.
In one of the books called Fiqh al-Raza, it has been narrated, or it has been said, that all the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were following 5 major objectives. There were 5 major maqasid, goals that all the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had in mind. The major and the most important of them is the one that the verse says, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهِ, that you should worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first and foremost goal that all the prophets were after was Tawheed. That only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be worshipped on the face of earth. And in order to ensure that, the punishment of apostasy was legislated.
Subhanallah.
The punishment of apostasy was legislated to ensure that only Allah be worshipped on the face of earth. So the moment you begin to understand the goal and objectives behind each and every punishment, you begin to appreciate it. If you don't understand, you begin to object. Those who object to the laws of Islam fail to understand the objective behind. The second objective was the preservation of aql. That every human should have a sound intellect. He should not lose his aql. Why? Why is that important? If you lose your aql, what happens? You cannot establish connection with God. La deena liman la aqla lahu. There's this tradition which says a person who has no aql has no deen. La deena liman la aqla lahu. Who does not have deen has no aql. Who has no aql, he has no deen. So if a person, that is why a person who is insane does not have any religion, is not obligated to follow any religion. There are no rules that apply to him. Why? Because he has no aql. So the second important objective was the preservation of aql. That is why the consumption of intoxicants were prohibited.
Subhanallah.
Alcohol was prohibited. Well, when a person consumes alcoholic drinks, he loses his aql.
Subhanallah.
So the punishment of alcohol was legislated for the preservation of aql.
MashaAllah.
The third important goal was the preservation of lineage. That this social fabric of the society should stay intact. It should be known who is the father, who is the mother, who is the son, who is the daughter. And that is why the punishment of adultery was legislated.
Subhanallah.
Punishment of adultery was legislated to ensure that the social fabric of the society, the lineage is preserved.
Subhanallah.
So now if you begin to understand that, you begin to appreciate the rules.
Wow.
And if you don't know the reason behind that, then you will think that these laws are very, very harsh or very severe. Then the preservation of wealth. That the life or wealth, property should not be taken away unjustly. And that is why the punishment of the theft was legislated to ensure that. And the fifth and final was the preservation of life, the importance and value of life. And that is why the punishment of murder was legislated. So the book of creation and the book of legislation, there is perfect harmony.
MashaAllah.
And if you understand the purpose behind the creation, only then you can begin to understand and appreciate the laws of creation and the design of this universe. That is why ma'rifah, that is why understanding is so important. That is
Muhammad wa ali bayt Muhammad salawat.
only when that happens, only when that develops, you are able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, once the muqaddama, once the prerequisite is there, then you begin to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The condition of worship is, one of the conditions for worship is niyat. So ma'rifah is the prerequisite. Let me summarize it once again. Ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the prerequisite, is the muqaddama of ibadat. Ibadat is the goal of our creation. And for an act to become an act of worship, it must have the niyat. Without niyat, no action is considered an act of worship. If there is no niyat, it is not an act of worship. Right? You might go dive in the swimming pool, but it will not be counted as ghusl if you do not have the intention of doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we mentioned that niyat has two basic components. Number one, what is it that you're doing? Number two, why is it that you're doing? Now this why is the most difficult part. Meaning, when you're praying, why is it that you're praying? Is it that you're praying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or is it because you're praying to impress somebody? Why are you praying in the mosque? Is it because everybody will look at you and say that you are a worshipper of Allah? Or is it because Allah likes you to be there at that time? Why do you choose to recite one dua over the other? Even in acts of worship there are traces, or there is impurity in intention. Why do you choose one dua over the other? Because in this dua it is said that if you recite this dua, you're going to get more rizq. You get a good job. The fact that we choose one dua over the other, that is the motivation why I am reciting this dua.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah.
So why are you reciting this dua? Because I'm going to get a better job. So that is the real niyat behind this act. But because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised it, it is a worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the important point I'd like to make today. Why do you obey your parents? Because God asks you to do that. That is why obeying your parents will become an act of worship, even though the niyat is to obey, is to make your parents happy. That is the intention behind obeying your parents, to make them happy. Why is it that you're doing that? If somebody asks a child, why are you listening to your father? You say, I want to make him happy. The next question, why do you want to make him happy? Because this will make Allah happy. So as long as your chain of answers end up with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is going to be considered an act of worship. But then the level of its worship, the purity of your intention, the purity of your intention will define the value and weight of this act of worship. So you could be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for different reasons. You could be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you want a job. You could be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you want to get married, because you want to have a child, because you want to become the CEO of a company, or you want to have a Jannah, you want to go to Jannah, you want to stay away from hell. These are all valid reasons to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As long as there is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the chain. It is an act of worship. Do not consider that if you're worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get a good job, then your niyat is for raya, you're not going to get any sawab. No, you are going to get the sawab. But obviously that is going to be different than the sawab of a person who is worshipping Allah to go to heaven. And Amir al-Mu'min points to this fact when he says, Inna awman abadullaha rahbatan. There's a group of people who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the fear of the hellfire. فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَةُ الْعَبِيدِ. That is the worship of the slaves. وَإِنَّ قَوْمًا عَبَدُ اللَّهَ رَغْبَةً. And there's a group of people who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hoping for Jannah. فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَةُ التُّجَّارِ. This is the worship of the traders. وَإِنَّ قَوْمًا عَبَدُ اللَّهَ شُكْرًا. And then there is a group of people who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they consider Him worthy of worship. فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَةُ الْأَحْرَارِ. This is the worship of the free people.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah.
This is the worship of the free men who do not worship Amir al-Mu'minin. Then says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I did not worship you fearing the hellfire or hoping for Jannah, but I found you worthy of worship and therefore I worship you. So all are acts of worship. Who worships Allah fearing the hellfire? Imam says, Inna qawman abadullah. They worship Allah. But this worship is at a lower level. There are higher levels. You worship Allah hoping for Jannah. That is the worship of the traders, of the businessmen. They want something in return. The worship of the free men is the worship who does not want anything in return, who worships for the sake of Allah. That is the station, that is the ma'rifah, that is the understanding of Amir al-Mu'minin Islam. He did not worship Allah for hell or hoping for the hereafter. He found, because he found Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala worthy of worship. In a statement he said, لَوْ كُشِفَ الْغَطَى مَسْدَقْتُ يَقِينًا. If all the curtains were removed from before my eyes, it would not increase my yaqeen. That is the level of yaqeen that he has. There was this Arif, a God-fearing person who used to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His next door neighbor saw a dream. In that dream he saw that this person, or it's a day of judgment, and this person is accounted for and is sent to hell. He got surprised. This is a worshipper of Allah. Why would he be sent to hell? Maybe it's a false dream. So he did not pay attention. The next night he saw the same dream again. The third night he saw the same dream again. well, there's something wrong with this person. His worships are not being accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is how it's going to end in hell. I should go and tell him. So he went to this person and he said, I've seen this dream 3 days in a row. I think you're going to go to hell. That is what your future is. He said, even if I go to hell, I'll still have to do my duty. I still have to worship.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah.
My duty is not to worship Allah if I'm going to go to heaven. The fact that Allah is going to take me to hell doesn't mean that I should stop worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he heard this reply and he was even more astonished by the reply. He came back that night when he slept, he saw that this person was being sent to heaven. So imagine if we knew that we are going to go to hell, would we still continue to worship Allah? Or our worshipping Allah is based on the outcome of the end of our life. So this understanding, this ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us purify our niyyah.
Subhanallah.
Niyyat, the purification of niyyat, this is how I look at niyyat, and then we can all look at niyyat. In old days, the chemists were looking after that magical wand that they can use and touch stone and turn it into gold. Right? People were after the kimia in Persian, they call the kimia, the chemist, such a solution, a tonic, where you use that to turn stone into gold. So you touch that with stone, that matter with this wand, magical wand, and it turns into gold. You don't find that there is no such tonic in this material world. But every desire that we have has an equivalent out there somewhere. You may desire justice, right? Justice will be fulfilled eventually. We have thirst, and this thirst will eventually be quenched when you have water. So every thirst, every desire that you have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created something to fulfill that. Right? So the food is there, has been created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to satisfy our hunger. Water has been created to satisfy our thirst. The Imam of our time, the 12th Imam, has been created to satisfy the desire for absolute justice on this earth. So whatever desire you have, there is something out there that will quench it. Now men were after this magic tonic, where they can use this and turn things into gold. That doesn't exist in the material world, but it exists in the spiritual world. And that is purity of intention. If your purity of intention reaches highest levels, where you are doing the actions only and only for the sake of Allah, then any action that gets touched with this sincerity of intention will turn into gold. It will turn into gold. And then gold never rusts. That action will become eternal. It will become part of the Quran. That action will become part of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will testify. يطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا لا نطعمكم إلا لوجه الله. We do not feed them except desiring the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. We do not need any reward or any thanks from you. We're doing it only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any action that gets touched with sincerity of action for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone will turn into gold. Will turn into gold. And any action that has any level of impurity will eventually rust to that level of impurity. Because if gold is mixed with iron, the iron is going to rust. Gold will stay gold, but iron will rust. And if somebody's intention is so pure that on the night of Hijrah he sleeps on the bed of the Holy Prophet. Subhanallah. The holy words of the Quran is revealed. There is a person among you, minan nasi. There is someone among you who sells his nafs ibtigha'a marzatillah, seeking the marzi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Seeking the marzi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he becomes the manifestation of the marzi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has the marzi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to know if Allah is razi, is pleased with someone, you have to see if he is pleased with that person. So he becomes the litmus test, he becomes the sign of the riza of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Holy Quran has testified to this. And the fact that we praise Amirul Mu'mineen and we mention his fazail does not hurt the fazilat of the Holy Prophet. Or it does not hurt the lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Khuda ki khudai mein farq nahi aata. Nabi ki nabuwwat par koi aaj nahi aati. Why? Because the Holy Prophet has already said, Ana adibullah wa aliyun adibi. I have been trained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Amirul Mu'mineen has been trained by me. So he's a student of Rasul Khuda. If you look this, if the more you praise the student, the more higher the teacher will become.
Allahu Akbar.
Nare Risalat.
Ya Rasulullah.
Nare
So any praise of the student is actually a praise of the teacher. It's actually praising the teacher. The Holy Prophet, Ana adibullah, I am the one who has been done the adab from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa aliyun adibi, he is my trained. So the higher the fazail of Amirul Mu'mineen, because his teacher is Rasul Khuda, the higher the status of them. पर ना ही खुदा की खुदाई पर फर्क आता है कि वो जिस खुदा का अली इतना बुलंद हो, उस अली का खुदा कितना बुलंद होगा. We should not worry when we mention the fazail of Amirul Mu'mineen. Neither the nubuwwat of the Holy Prophet is at danger. And we don't accept somebody as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whose lordship gets in danger if one of his servants is praised. That doesn't deserve to be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Iski khudai makhluk ki tareef se khatre mein pad jaye. That doesn't deserve to be Khuda. That doesn't deserve to be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to purify our intentions. We have sincerity, and that sincerity of intention, how will that come? That will not take place if we do not fix our aqaid. If we do not have the right ma'rifah, the right understanding. For example, would you sacrifice your health over your wealth? No. Why? Health is more important. So if somebody is sacrificing his health over his wealth, can he switch that priority? If for somebody wealth is more important than health, he's going to be sacrificing his wealth for the sake of his health, for the sake of wealth. Why is he doing that? Because he values wealth more than health. If you want to fix this problem, you have to change his view. If that gets changed, if he realizes that health is more important, only then he will be able to sacrifice his wealth for the sake of health. Right? Because if you know that this is more valuable than this, only then you will sacrifice, you will let go of the invaluable, of the less valuable for the sake of this valuable. Right? So now if Akhirat has less value than this dunya, can your actions be sincerely for the sake of God? No. There is this tradition, in that tradition the Imam says, if you want to know your station in the eyes of Allah, if you want to know how much Allah values you, it's a very simple test. See how much you value Allah. So go to the tradition, go to the Imam. If you want to know your status before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, see how much status Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in front of you. And then he gives another example. He says, if somebody is given the option between two things, between this dunya and akhirah, if you have to choose between two events, one pertaining to this dunya and the other pertaining to the akhirah, the person who chooses the akhirah is the one who loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the person who chooses this dunya over the akhirah is the one who has no respect for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La manzilata. He has no respect for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we want to purify our intentions and want to do the things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has to be, it can happen only and only when we fix our aqidah, when our world view gets fixed. I'll give an example and then I'll finish. I've already exceeded my time limit. Zuhud is a very important virtue in Islam. What is zuhud? Zuhud is a virtue of Islam. And people generally think that zuhud is giving up this world, not having any material belongings, living a life of a hermit, living a life in a cave, you live in a poor house. That is a zahid person. No, that is not zuhud. Amir al-Mu'minin Islam mentions that zuhud can be summarized in two phrases of the Holy Quran, in this verse of the Holy Quran, which has two phrases, لِكَيْ لَا تَعْصَوْا عَلَى مَا فَاتَكُمْ وَلَا تَفْرَحُوا بِمَا آتَاكُمْ. Zuhud is that you do not feel sorry for what you have lost, and you do not feel excited over what comes to you. That is zuhud. That is the person. You might have the entire dunya at your disposal, but if that is taken away, you say Alhamdulillah. If it comes to you, you say Alhamdulillah. That is a zahid person, not one who doesn't have any belongings. So you might have a Mercedes car, you can still be a zahid, because it doesn't matter whether you have it or not. That is a zahid person, that if your stocks go up, if your price of your house skyrockets, you don't feel any excitement. And if you lose all your stocks, or if you lose all your wealth, you don't lose your sleep. Can that happen with us? Very rare. Very difficult. See, very difficult. But it is difficult because of our incorrect aqidah. Let me give you an example. If you are working in a bank as a cashier at the bank, and a person comes in today with $1 million or £1 million, and he gives you that £1 million, you deposit it, you give him the deposit slip, and then you take the money and you put it in safe. Would that be the most happiest day of your life? No. Would you be excited that day? No. And the next day a person comes and withdraws $1 billion. Would you be upset? No, why? Why weren't you excited? Why weren't you excited? Because you don't consider it your money. If we have the same view regarding the wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving to us, and then taking away from us the other day, if our intention, if our view is this is the wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the child, this is the wealth, this is the blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to me today, to use it as long as He thinks it's best for me to use, and He's going to take it away whenever He thinks it is best for Him to use. It belongs to Him from day one, it is not mine.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Par Muhammad wa Ahle Bayt Muhammad salawat.
So if that is the view that you have regarding this dunya, it becomes very easy to become a zahid. Fixing your aqidah, fixing your ma'rifah, having the right world view, having the right understanding will make you a zahid. It will make you bear the hardships with ease. Knowing the Ahlul Bayt, understanding their status will make it easy to sacrifice your life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Subhanallah.
And that is what we see with the companions of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. The companions of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, their ma'rifat was mind-boggling. It's very their acts of loyalty on the day of Ashur, on the night of Ashur, all along the journey. Amazing. Their loyalty was such that on the day of Ashur, as long as they were alive, we do not find in history that any of the Ahlul Bayt had gotten injured while the companions were alive. There was a battle that was fought in the early hours of Ashur, a battle in which the companions and Ahlul Bayt both fought. Yet we do not find any narration, as far as I've seen, where it mentions that some of the Ahlul Bayt were hurt. They had done something, they were trying to protect the Ahlul Bayt as long as they were alive. They had already expressed their loyalty on the night of Ashur. But on the day of Ashur, they displayed that loyalty to utmost perfection. When the one-to-one battle started, it was the companions of Ahlul Bayt who went to the battlefield first. As long as we are alive, we're not going to let any of the family of Ahlul Bayt enter the battlefield. One by one, they went to the battlefield. They fought and sacrificed their lives for the sake of Allah. They were happy about it. On the night of Ashur, one of the companions of Imam Hussain joked with his friend. And he said, people know that I am not a person who jokes often, but I want to tell the world that I am happy. This is an honor to sacrifice my life, because they had the right ma'rifah. They had the right understanding. It was easy for them to sacrifice. Look at the ma'rifah of one of the companions of Imam by the name of John. He was a black slave originally. Free is bought by Amirul Mu'mineen and gifted to Abu Zar. And as he stayed with Abu Zar while Abu Zar was in exile, and when Abu Zar rahmatullah alayhi died, he came back to Medina to continue to serve the Ahlul Bayt. He was with Amirul Mu'mineen, and then after that he was with Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and now he was with Imam Hussain alayhi salam. For the very beginning of the journey, he's a free slave now, but out of his own choice, he is with the Imam. On the day of Ashur, when he saw that all the other companions are going to the battlefield and attaining the lofty station of Shahadat one after the other, then he thought that it is his turn now. He comes to the Imam, asks for permission to go to the battlefield. The Imam looks at him. The Imam did not permit him. The Imam said, you did not join us for troubles and trials and pains and sufferings. You are free to go. You have served us enough. You have served us enough. You are free to go. We are pleased with you. Go and live your life. Said, Imam, what are you saying? I stay with you when the days of happiness, and when the going gets tough, I leave you? That cannot happen. The Imam did not permit him. The Imam kept on denying. He kept on insisting. Imam, let me go. And the Imam kept on denying. He became desperate. He said, oh Imam, please do not deprive me the honor of sacrificing my life in your defense. But the Imam was still kept on denying till he said these words. John said a few words, and after that the Imam could not stop him. He said, as if he had said these words, the meaning of which is as follows. He said, I have understood why you do not want me to go to the battlefield. I am black. My body, my skin color is black. My body has an odor. It does not have a fragrance. I do not belong to a holy lineage. You do not want my body. You do not want such a body to be lying down next to the holy grave, to the holy bodies of the Ahlul Bayt. That is why you don't want me to go to the battlefield. When the Imam said, listen to these words, he said, John, go to the battlefield and sacrifice your life without defense. He emotionally pleaded and got the permission to go to the battlefield. He is in the battlefield. He recites the words. He says, just look at the fight. Look at the fight of this black slave who is going to defend his Imam with his words and his hands and his sword, and then eventually hoping paradise in return. And then when he fell down, the Imam rushed to him. The Imam lifted his head, placed in his lap. He opened his eyes. As soon as he felt that there is somebody next to him, he opened his eyes to see the blessed face of his Imam for the last time. The Imam was reciting this dua, Allahumma bayyiz wajhuhu, oh Allah, brighten his face, wa tayyib rihahu, change his smell into fragrance, wahshuhu ma'al abrar, and raise him with the abrar on the day of judgment. وعرف بينه وبين محمد وآل Muhammad, and on the day of judgment maintain the ties between him and Muhammad and all Muhammad. It is narrated that after the day of Ashur, whenever people walked near those graves, they could smell a sweet fragrance coming from the body of John. I would ask John, I would say to John, you were very lucky in the final moments of your life when you were laying down on the ground and you felt there was somebody nearby. You opened your eyes, you saw the face of Imam Hussaini next to you. But a few hours later, once you are gone, once you are dying, a few hours later, the Imam will be in your position. The Imam will notice there's somebody around him. As soon as he will open his eyes, he wouldn't see another Imam. He's going to see the face of Shimmer. Shimmer is going to be on his head in his eyes, ready to be hit by Imam. لعنة الله للقوم الظالمين.